Text, PopCheck Technologies. Rest more, worry less, eliminating barriers to safe and effective postoperative care so every patient recovers from surgery, stress-free. Erika Dillard, CEO. Erika at PopCheckTech.com, December 18, 2023. Erika is standing and speaking to us from a library in the upper right corner of the screen.
I'm Dr. Erika Dillard, founder and CEO of PopCheck Technologies, where we aim to save lives by transforming postoperative care with more efficient and accessible remote monitoring for high-risk patients after surgery.
Text, the problem, blood clots. Common, life-threatening, preventable. A photo of a man walking upstairs, bent over holding his knee. Text, Mr. Klein, 10 years of painful arthritis, knee replacement.
I want to introduce you to Mr. Klein. He's a 60-year-old gentleman who has suffered from 10 years of painful, worsening arthritis in his knees. He finally has a knee replacement, and after just 2 days, he's discharged to a rehab facility.
Text, post-op day 2. Discharged to rehab. The man is using a walker while a woman helps him. Text, post-op day 4, left calf pain, decreased activity. He holds lower leg, which is shaded in red.
Within his first few days there, he notices some new calf pain, which limits his participation with physical therapy, but like most of us would do, he assumes it's normal pain after surgery.
Text, post-op day 6, worsened calf pain, new shortness of breath. He is wearing an oxygen mask while a doctor examines him.
2 days later, the pain worsens and he now has shortness of breath even without doing any activity. Now with these new symptoms, his nurse becomes concerned and notifies his doctor and sends him to the emergency room immediately.
Text, the problem, blood clots. Common, life-threatening, preventable. A graphic shows a crying person clutching their chest while lightning bolts come from their heart.
There, he discovers these were not normal symptoms, but were actually signs of a clot that had developed in the deep veins of his leg, known as the DVT.
Text, deep vein thrombosis.
And this clot was able to travel to his lungs, causing a pulmonary embolism. Now, though venous clots are one of the most common, potentially life-threatening yet preventable of complications, with no way to monitor for them, a minor situation can quickly escalate into a life-threatening one.
The problem, incidence, 1 million US per year. Mortality, 1 in the third of may die. Cost burden, $12 billion per year.
Sadly, over 1 million people per year in the US suffer from venous clots, with previous surgery and advanced age being strong risk factors. In fact, incidence increases for those over 75 from 1 in 10,000 to a frightening 1 in 100. As many as 30% of those who experience venous clots may die, oftentimes without warning, carrying a cost burden of over $12 billion annually, largely from unplanned hospital readmissions.
Text, mechanism of action. A diagram shows a cutaway section of a vein in a calf showing a clot and obstruction of blood flow. A red and swollen calf is shown next to a normal one.
When a venous clot develops, causing the obstruction of blood flow, there are a number of signs and symptoms that may be observed or experienced by the patient, including pain, engorged blood vessels, warmth, redness, and swelling. Not all patients report these symptoms, and many of these symptoms can be nonspecific and even misinterpreted, particularly after a procedure like a knee replacement.
Text, bioimpedance, fluid volume, photoplethysmography, PPG, oxygen, O2, gradient, fluid volume. Strain gauge plethysmography, SPG, venous compliance.
As such, we selected markers that correlate with the underlying mechanisms contributing to these symptoms that could be measured non-invasively. These include bioimpedance, which measures tissue conductivity caused by changes in fluid volume and oxygen gradient. Photoplethysmography, which utilizes photodetection to measure reflected light from tissues proportional to blood volume. And lastly, strain gauge plethysmography, which measures mechanical strain due to volumetric changes reflective of the ability of veins to rebound from outflow obstruction.
The PopCheck solution, a vertical white bow tie-shaped patch with a small black rectangular box attached at the bottom. The device comes apart, showing 2 bow tie-shaped layers and with the box labeled battery. One of the bow ties, the inside adhesive layer, has labeled biosensors and embedded electrodes. The other layer is labeled outside patch.
As our solution, we are developing an AI-enabled remote monitoring technology in the form of a wearable device that will not only more efficiently prevent clots, but also provide a means to predict them by non-invasively detecting abnormal patterns of physical biomarkers.
The patch is shown attached to the inside of a knee. 3 dots of blue light flash on the patch. A phone screen shows the PopCheck app with a red exclamation point on it. A doctor shows a patient the PopCheck app on a phone.
Once detected, the healthcare team will receive notification through our remote monitoring virtual care platform tailored specifically for the surgical patient so they can determine the next steps in patient management.
Text, VTE market. Consumer, long distance travel, $780 billion. Immobility, $17.1 billion. Therapeutic monitoring, $3.4 billion. Postoperative, $3.1 billion. Critical care, $2.1 billion. Peripartum, $1.5 billion.
There are a number of advantages that we provide that set us apart from our competition, but the greatest is that we're the only technology that monitors for clots, and we even provide a means to communicate a patient's change in clotting risk that moves past the traditional risk analysis and incorporates social and economic factors that greatly affect how patients recover after surgery, their risk for developing complications like blood clots, and therefore their overall outcomes. And we communicate this risk through our remote monitoring platform directly to the healthcare team, which encourages a more informed and objective decision in patient management, potentially eliminating delays in care.
U.S. market size. TAM, $3.1 billion. High-risk surgeries, 7.3 million patients per year. SAM, $510 million. All joint replacements, 1.2 million patients per year. SOM, $357 million. Inpatient joint replacements, 840,000 patients per year. SaaS revenue model, tiered approach. Value-based, shared savings.
And by focusing on total joint replacements, patients who are on average over 65 and at very high risk for venous clots will be positioned to capture $357 million of a $3.1 billion available market. We propose value-based gain-sharing revenue model in which we provide our device with remote monitoring subscription at a discounted rate with the agreement to share in savings demonstrated through use of our technology.
Go to market. Large volume, acute care hospitals.
And beyond post-op patients, there are several other adjacent markets, including peripartum, critical care, and even therapeutic monitoring, where we plan to expand as we scale. We'll focus on physician practices affiliated with large volume acute care hospitals over other settings, as they provide service for over 70% of joint replacements. They allow the greatest accessibility to our diverse key opinion leaders and are most financially impacted when complications occur.
Text, go to market. Large acute care hospitals, high penalty CMS regions, centers of influence for clinical pilots, conference demos, partnerships.
Specifically, we'll start with high-volume hospitals servicing over 300 joint replacements per year. And based on data from Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, facilities that demonstrate higher reimbursement penalties after joint replacements are typically located in the Southeast and Midwest, which aligns with our core team sphere of influence. We'll maximize these relationships as potential sites for pilot studies to provide additional cost and clinical validation. To gain more visibility by stakeholders and potential customers, we'll attend various specialty-focused conferences and trade shows in order to demo our product and highlight use case data demonstrating our value. And lastly, we'll take an approach to foster strategic partnerships with patient-centered and community-based organizations that represent and service many of the populations we hope to benefit the most from our technology.
Text, the team. Photos of Erika Dillard, Tamara Bainham, and the 4 advisors. Across the bottom are logos. Vanderbilt, the University of Tennessee, the University of Memphis, UAB School of Engineering, Boston Scientific, Inova, and SC Science Center.
And we have a leadership team with the passion and the expertise to tackle this unmet need. As CEO, I'm a physician scientist having a background in molecular science and 5 years of neurosurgical and neurocritical care training, which gave me firsthand knowledge into the care of high-risk surgical patients. Dr. Bainham, our VP of Engineering, is a trained biomedical and electrical engineer with years of industry experience specializing in electrical cardiac stimulation and neuromodulation.
Text, advisors. Jeffrey Oma, DO, Medical Advisor. Jan Booten, MBA, Advisor. Troy Wilford, MBA, Advisor. Aaron Starosta, Ph.D., Advisor.
And to supplement our expertise, we've constructed a stellar advisory board of individuals, each having over 20 years experience in the development, commercialization, sales, and investment of medical devices.
Timeline for key milestones. A color-coded timeline, dark blue for what we've done, blue for what we're doing, and light blue for what's next. In dark blue, text, 2020, first investment, patents 2 products. 2021, NSFI Corp. 2022, Incorporated Farmed Advisory Committee, first hire. 2023, international patent submitted. In blue, 2023, wearable and platform prototypes. 2024, SBIR application. In light blue, 2024, clinical pilot studies. In 2024 through 2025, build team, CTO, FDA regulatory pathway, 2026, product launch.
And with this team, we've secured early investments through the P2P Fellowship and a Friends and Family round. We recently submitted our first international utility patent and are currently iterating our wearable and digital platform prototypes to prepare for our SBIR Phase 1 submission in April to support our feasibility studies. And in the next 2 to 3 years, we look to grow our leadership team, including a full-time CTO, and hitting our regulatory milestones for product launch in 2026.
Intellectual property. Trademark assigned 2022, utility PCT filed November 2023, software non-provisional in progress. Regulatory strategy. Initial regulatory meeting 2021, breakthrough device designation in progress, pre-sub application for Class L de novo application. Reimbursement. Initial reimbursement discussion 2022, remote patient and therapeutic monitoring codes identified, HCPCS codes for wearable identified.
Our strategy moving forward encompasses three main areas: intellectual property, as we look to supplement our pending international patent with additional design and software patents. We began discussions around our regulatory strategy in 2021 and are now working on breakthrough device designation and have identified our pathway to market as a de novo Class 2 device. And lastly, through our reimbursement discussions, we've identified relevant CPT codes for our technology, which include remote patient and remote therapeutic monitoring codes.
Mission: eliminate barriers to safe and effective postoperative care so every patient recovers from surgery, stress-free. Contact US Erika Dillard, MD, Ph.D., Erika@PopCheckTech.com, 901-299-2065. 460 S Highland Street, Memphis, Tennessee, 38111.
So we thank you for this opportunity to tell you more about PopCheck and our team, and we invite you to join us on our mission to make recovery for all patients stress-free.